So the home cooked diet that we prepare for Raven calls for about 80% meat. To make things easy, I'm going to make a 10-pound batch. So I'm starting with 80% or 8 pounds of boneless meat. So we've got ground pork and ground beef that I got on sale. The beef is grass-fed and finished. The pork is this Farm Promise brand, which has no antibiotics. I try to buy as clean as I can for her, so I definitely like to take advantage of these sales. I also have some boneless rabbit, which I'm going to cut up. You really don't have to use ground meat. I prefer to cut it small for Raven, as one of the issues that she had with her thyroid cancer, it being on her throat and all, was that she couldn't really eat large chunks of food. I bought the ground meat because it was on sale. If there were steaks on sale, I'd buy that, or like stew meat. So it doesn't have to be ground. I am throwing all of this into a big pot that is basically on the lowest heat setting. You want to cook it basically low and slow. If you cook it high heat, you deplete a lot of the nutrients. So this big, pretty much 8 pounds of meat, this batch will go on probably for about 30 to 40 minutes, basically until I can't see any more blood or pink in the meat anymore. So similar to Prey Model Raw, there's going to be 10% organs in this diet. Now, of the 10%, 5% should be liver, and the other 5% needs to be a secreting organ. So I happen to have this ground mix that I make. It goes in the raw food packs that we sell. This is what I have on hand. It's 50% beef liver and 50% beef kidney. You don't have to do it ground. You could chop it up pretty small too, just so that it's like evenly distributed through the mix. You could put it in the food processor. You could turn it into treats and feed it that way, just as long as 10%, roughly 10% of your diet is organ meat, 5% being liver, and 5% being other secreting organ. So spleen, sweetbreads, brain, pancreas. The weirder, the better. We are going to start off with some celery, and this is a household fave. It's in almost all of Raven's home-cooked meals. And the reason we are crazy about celery is because of the 2 flavonoids that it has, apigenin and luteolin. Basically, all you need to know is that these flavonoids induce apoptosis, and apoptosis is basically cancer cell self-destruction. These flavonoids also have the capacity to slow the growth rate of dangerous cancer cells by stopping their replication cycle. So it keeps it from spreading, and it makes the current cancer basically self-destruct. Traditional Chinese medicine uses celery for anti-inflammation. So this is a superfood that would greatly benefit dogs with inflammatory conditions like arthritis. Also, celery makes your body more alkaline, meaning reducing your body's acid levels. And studies have shown that cancer cells thrive in an acidic environment. So by making Raven's blood more alkaline, we create a very unhospitable environment for cancer cells. The next superfood that we are going to add is radishes. Now, we add radishes to maybe every other batch of food because they're a goitrogenic vegetable, which means they can mess with Raven's thyroid. So since for her specifically, she's fighting thyroid cancer, we like to use these in moderation. But they're a great source of vitamin C, and vitamin C, as some of you might know, is an antioxidant. And basically that means that it helps battle free radicals in your body and helps prevent cell damage that can be caused by environmental toxins, which is likely what causes cancer or contributes to cancer in the first place. There are even some studies that show cruciferous vegetables like radishes and broccoli and cauliflower contain compounds that are broken down into isothiocyanates, and basically those help purge the body of cancer-causing substances and also prevent tumor development. Dr. Judy Morgan has a video on qi stagnation, which is basically the traditional Chinese medicine concept of the flow of energy through our bodies. Qi, or stagnant qi, means that your energy is not flowing properly, and the symptoms manifest in pain, chronic illness, or in our case, tumors. So Dr. Judy Morgan suggests that parsley and radish can treat stagnation and get qi flowing again. So we've gone ahead and added some leftover broccoli slaw that I used for my dinner earlier this week. There's about an ounce left in there, and it probably won't make it another day or two in the fridge, so instead of wasting it, I'll throw it into her food. So of course we like to add parsley, and it has the same flavonoid that we found in celery, and it's apigenin. So again, great at slowing down and destroying cancer cells, stopping tumor growth, and then lowering the growth rate of the dangerous cancer cells. Raven's thyroid tumor made her produce obnoxious amount of phlegms, so we consulted to Dr. Judy Morgan again and found a video and learned that radishes and ginger can moisten and soften phlegm. So of course we're going to add some ginger, and this is definitely a superfood for pets and humans. It's an anti-inflammatory, it strengthens the immune system, it prevents tumor development, prevents nausea and vomiting, and most importantly for us, it induces apoptosis, which we said earlier was cancer cell self-destruction. It's also been shown to protect against cancer and demonstrate a chemoprotective effect, which means it protects the body from the side effects of chemotherapy. So if your dog is in a situation where you're battling cancer and you're using chemotherapy or radiation therapy, ginger is a superfood you can definitely add. We'll be doing a video about all the benefits of this superfood, as we recently heard that cooked or dried ginger produces a cancer-fighting superhero called 6-Shogal. So we will research that and share soon. Last but not least, we are going to incorporate some cucumbers. They have these phytonutrients called cucurbitacins, and they're known to prevent cancer cells from developing in the body by sweeping the body of toxins that cause cancer. Raven also loves cucumber, so I think this makes this veggie mix a lot more palatable for her. So I have a bag of organic spinach, and it's washed and it's small enough to just put in the food processor while I mix all this up. I'll probably add about 3 or 4 handfuls, and it is an antioxidant, so I bragged about that earlier. But spinach also contains folate, and that helps your body produce new cells. So this is helpful because while you're feeding all these other foods that make the cancer cells die, the body of course needs to regenerate itself. We leave these veggies raw because we believe the lack of heat keeps all their antioxidants and their vitamins intact. And then we also choose to puree our vegetables because dogs don't have the enzyme to break down cellulose or plant matter, basically. So breaking it down in a food processor helps them absorb all the benefits. If you don't have a food processor, you can also quickly steam them to kind of give them a head start on breaking down that cellulose. And of course, try to use organic veggies where you can. I try to buy organic if it's on the Dirty Dozen list or when you can't peel it. I could be totally wrong, but I figure at the very least, you could peel off the outside that came into contact with pesticides if you're buying non-organic produce. I do know that organically grown produce can have 20 to 40% more antioxidants than conventional fruits or vegetables, so do the best that you can. Has been on the stove for about 10 or 15 minutes while I made the veggies. I'm gonna add the organs. I feel like these cook a lot faster, and organs are also so nutrient dense, so I don't like to leave the heat on them too long. So I'm gonna add them in and mix them in at this point. This has been on the stove for about 35 or 40 minutes now, and it's pretty brown. You can't see any more pink or any blood from the meat. So I'm gonna let it cool off. Not completely to room temperature, I just don't want it to be so steaming hot because I'm going to add canned sardines, and these are already cooked. So we choose canned sardines in water, no salt added, and we pick this over fish oil. We're kind of purists, so we figure you can't make food better than nature. If you can't find these or they're just not in your budget, you can also use a fish oil. I would just wait to add the fish oil till right before serving. It's very delicate, so it's sensitive to heat and light, so you want to keep it as fresh as possible and not expose it to any of that until right before you feed. Then we'll go ahead and mix in the raw vegetables that we chopped up in our food processor earlier and mix it all together so that it's all pretty incorporated. I've gone ahead and portioned this out. Raven eats about a pound a day, so these containers are about 2 days worth of food, and I actually didn't feed her tonight, so I'm putting some aside in a bowl. Right before serving, we add calcium. So right now we're using calcium citrate, but we like to rotate our calcium sources. So some other things that we use are ground eggshells, either from organic chicken eggs or quail eggs. We order them on Etsy, or when we can get our hands on organic eggs for a decent price, we go ahead and grind dried shells in a coffee grinder ourselves and keep that in the freezer until it's time to serve. We also like to add a probiotic. This one is Tummy Works, but any powdered supplement will do. And then we also add turmeric, which is a very powerful superfood, specifically for its anti-inflammatory properties. And we like turmeric so much, we're gonna do a video on its benefits. So subscribe and stay tuned for that. Last but not least, we have to add a fat. So as we mentioned in our previous video when we were talking about ketogenic diets, dogs need this for energy. We're using raw grass-fed and finished beef fat. We also like to use coconut oil or olive oil, so we rotate all three. I hope this video was helpful to everyone. Please leave in the comments if you have any questions. We're more than happy to help. The important thing is that you do the best you can and you just clean up their diet. So as long as you stay away from starch, use fresh ingredients, and you balance everything properly, you'll be sending your dog on the path to healing. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch our next video.